For Cryin' Out Loud is a rockin' episode with a crazy cast. Directed by Jeffrey Price, written by Price and Peter S. Seaman, and shot by Tim Surstadt. Based on a story from Shock Suspense Stories number 15. The writing duo behind Who Framed Roger Rabbit takes the idea of the comic and turns it up to 11. Rock promoter Marty sees a doctor about a hearing problem.
Would you describe what you hear as a ringing?
No, it's not a ringing.
Buzzing, then?
No, it's not a buzzing.
Well, then, what is it?
Is it like...
The doctor concludes the issue is due to prolonged exposure to loud music. Marty is given earplugs, eardrops, and the advice to leave the rock business.
This is all I get for a fucking $200 visit?
That and some advice. If you want to keep what little hearing you have left, get out of the rock and roll business.
Would tonight be soon enough, Doc?
Cut to Iggy Pop performing a charity concert. This benefit to save the Amazon was put on by Marty, who gives a speech complete with a showy, oversized check for $1 million. As Marty showboats for the crowd, there is one audience member eyeballing him. The show goes on as Marty makes his way to his office. Out of public view, he opens a secret safe where he has hidden all of the Amazon money. Suddenly,
don't touch that money.
Who's there?
There's no there, Marty. Just me.
Who's me?
Your conscience.
My conscience? I don't have a conscience.
Oh no? Then what am I? Talk radio?
Marty's conscience is actually talking to him, and Marty is in disbelief. He packs his money into a suitcase, while arguing with a disembodied voice that he doesn't believe is real.
I just think I'm hearing what I think I'm hearing.
Think. That's the key word, Marty. To get away with a crime like this, you need brains. And I gotta tell you, I'm in here looking at yours, and, well, you're gonna get caught.
Meanwhile, a cop arrives looking for Marty, just as the conscience warns him something bad is about to happen. None of this is in the comic. Marty is just a generic businessman already on the run from stealing the money, and has been hiding out in a hotel room for weeks. Needing a change of scenery, he goes to the bar and sees Millie. He approaches her. The two share a few drinks and have a good time. Marty is careful to use an alias, but he slips up when he takes out a roll of bills to pay the check. Using his real name, Millie asks Marty if he would like to go home with her. Back to the episode, there's a knock at the door. Marty answers to the sight of a beautiful woman. Her seduction begins immediately. Marty goes with it despite the voice's objections.
Whoa! This was trouble, Marty!
Things are about to get hot and heavy until the mysterious groupie reveals she is actually Marty's banker, Ms. Kilbosser. That morning, she saw Marty withdraw the entire Save the Amazon account, and now she wants half. He agrees.
You're a banker. Count out your half.
Smart boy.
Dumbass!
As Ms. Kilbosser counts out her share, Marty bashes her head in with a guitar. He then stuffs her lifeless body into a drum case. Walking down the alley, Millie tells Marty she recognized him right away as the wanted embezzler, but she'll keep her mouth shut for $25,000. Out of options, Marty strangles Millie to death in the alley. He quickly runs away before anyone can see him. This is when the voice of his conscience creeps into his mind, telling him over and over that he killed a woman. He shouts out loud, begging the voice to stop. The cop enters Marty's office after all the commotion. There have been 30 noise complaints from the nearby neighbors. Marty agrees to turn the music down, and his conscience has a little fun.
Anything else I can do for you, officer?
Just keep it down.
Wait!
Sorry, officer. I was aiming for the wastebasket.
The cop leaves, and the voice is not happy. In one of the most painful moments of the series, Marty uses alcohol, eardrops, and ear swabs to try to silence his conscience. He even considers stabbing his brain with a sharp pencil.
Jam it way deep inside your brain, just so you can get at me!
You're right. Here I am fucking with you. And I got a plane to catch.
Comic Marty is hounded by the Voice, repeatedly calling him a murderer. He passes by a number of people on the sidewalk, and each of them try to catch his attention. He runs away from all of them, convinced they can also hear his conscience. All Marty has to do in the TV series is walk outside to his limo, and he's home free. His conscience starts yelling at those around him, confessing the murder. They all look horrified. Avoiding the cop, Marty casually hides in the bathroom, where again, everyone is repelled by the Voice's accusations. Needing to drown out the sound of the Voice, Marty turns the music back up, all the way up. The Voice repeatedly shouts at Marty to confess, as he presses his head up against the giant speaker. In a fit of anger, the cop mutes the music, just in time for Marty to lose his mind and confess everything.
I killed my baker!
The crowd can't believe their ears, and Marty makes a sound realization.
Oh. Easy. Hey, Marty, something just occurred to me. Do you think that's what everybody was looking at all the time? And they can never really hear me? Oh, Marty, that would mean that if you just kept your mouth shut, you could have gotten away with it after all.
The comic ends with Marty finding a factory that's hiring night shift workers. He enters the building and finds the hammering, booming noises to be exactly what he's looking for. Everyone in the factory stops what they're doing. Dead silence. The voice in Marty's head is loud as can be, shouting that he killed Millie Benson. Everybody in the factory is looking right at him. Marty can't take it anymore. He shouts his confession at the top of his lungs. Marty is so devastated he can't even hear his own voice. He's gone deaf. The factory workers call the police and tell the cop what happened. All they wanted to do was tell Marty that he should get his face checked out. Apparently, Millie had scratched his cheek during the struggle, and it's been bleeding the entire night. That's why everyone had been staring at him. But the show doesn't stop there. It goes one louder. 2 years later, a deaf Marty sits on death row. The Voice won't leave him alone with bad joke after bad joke. Now, with years of only being able to hear his conscience, he happily hops into the electric chair, ready for eternal quietness. For Cryin' Out Loud is a breath of fresh air, especially since I feel like it's been forever since I've covered a story that wasn't about a love triangle or a romance gone wrong. Iggy Pop as himself is a fun surprise, and Katie Sagal, who I think is one of our most underappreciated actresses, shines here in her limited screen time. But of course, this story belongs to Lee Ehrenberg as Marty and comedian Sam Kinison as the voice of his conscience. These two give us a manic fury that can only work in a comic book horror anthology. The screenplay allows Kinison to bring more humor and personality to the invisible character compared to the constant shouting in the comic. The comic doesn't have much to offer outside of its concept, but the show ties everything together, throwing us into Marty's hearing issues from the start, caused by his job, and ultimately trying to use the concert setting to combat the Voice. It's the perfect ballad of poetic justice. This is an excellent story to feed anyone's lust for death.